The Earth is a motor. This presentation was put together for the ASD, and we are now recording it for the Temple of New Sakura. Orgone energy is a life force energy that can heal humanity and clean up the planet. The Earth generates Orgone energy. It is very important that the world understands this.
Recently, scientists have found startling new evidence about the Great Pyramid of Giza, and they have published a white paper titled Electromagnetic Properties of the Great Pyramid, First Multipole Resonances. The conclusion, reported in the July 2018 issue of the Journal of Applied Physics, reports the multipole analysis of the electromagnetic waves scattering by the Great Pyramid has been performed in the radio frequency range and revealed important physical properties concerning the accumulation and focusing of electromagnetic energy. This energy concentration indicates that the Great Pyramid functions as an antenna for the Earth's energy to facilitate its life-sustaining motor. All motors need to be stabilized, and the Great Pyramid generates an energy field to entrain the Earth's motor to continue to run smoothly. As far back as Plato's stories about Atlantis, the Earth has many power stations. Modern evidence confirms that Africa, India, South America, Antarctica, and Australia were once a single continent called Pangea. At that time, the North Pole was located in the modern Bermuda Triangle region, and the South Pole was near Australia in the Devil's Sea. The main controlling power station was located at the North Pole. The standing wave over the North Pole became unbalanced, collapsed, and cracked the Earth, creating the Atlantic Ocean. Since the Earth is a motor that must operate in a balanced field, this imbalance meant that the Earth would wobble on its axis, and the energy it was producing would cease to exist. This would cause the beautiful blue-green Orgone energy field produced by the Earth's motor to collapse, and the planet would die. An ancient order of interstellar priests came to the rescue of the Earth. First, they built a school called Sakura to instruct the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptian students were trained on the nature of Orgone energy, the science of levitation, how to construct pyramids, the Ark of the Covenant, and the rods of Ptah. By locating the central point of the Pangea continental landmass, which was Egypt, they built an antenna system using the Great Pyramid. This system was designed to balance the Earth. They also built Stonehenge to act as a control panel for this antenna system. Stonehenge, a vortex generator, monitors and maintains the tip and tilt of the Earth. With this knowledge, the Earth's magnetic field was brought into harmonious balance. When Mary Hardy first entered the Great Pyramid in 1981, she relived a past life in that past time and realized the process of how the Great Pyramid stabilizes the Earth. She saw the ancients use a coil, much like a Tesla coil, which they ran up and down the Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid. This technique corrected the Earth's imbalance, returning it to a stable orbit. The pyramid itself is built like an Orgone generator. It has dual layers of electric dielectric material acting as an antenna to maintain the Earth's temperature and orbital balance. Mary's teacher, Kenneth Killick, told her that the Great Pyramid's electric dielectric nature is realized by layering first a wall of stone, then a crystalline chamber of sand, then a wall of stone, and then another chamber of crystalline sand. Unfortunately, the archaeologists that are trying to understand the pyramid have drilled holes into its walls and have removed the sand. Because of the lack of understanding, these scientists do not realize that they are destroying a very beautiful piece of technology that balances the Earth. When Mary went to Egypt in 1981, the pyramid's interior was cool, remaining at a constant 72 degrees. Kenneth Killick explained that this was part of the design, maintaining both the pyramid and the Earth's cool temperature. When she returned to the Great Pyramid in 1992, the interior temperature of the pyramid was warmer than the desert air outside. Mary called Kenneth and related to him the temperature reversal, and he again told her about the Orgone energy field and said, "The damn fools are taking the insulation out, and they're making the Earth's antenna a useless piece of equipment." The recent scientific white paper has confirmed that the Great Pyramid is an antenna that acts as a lens and pulls the energy up from the Earth's interior. Unfortunately, some scientists still maintain that the Egyptians were not advanced enough to engineer this electromagnetic field into the pyramid. They say it's just a coincidence. Some archaeologists and physicists can't comprehend the information they have in front of them. They are still calling the pyramids tombs. If they would study and understand the pyramid antenna system and reattach it to the Earth's Orgone field, they could engineer the tools that were used to build the pyramids. This information is portrayed in many of the Egyptian hieroglyphs. The controlling energy mechanism for these ancient devices was the Ark of the Covenant. We all know the story of Moses parting the Red Sea. When engineers accept that the Ark of the Covenant was a capacitor, and when Moses extended the rod of Ptah on the banks of the Red Sea, he created a soliton that allowed him to part the waters. Mary is convinced that the Egyptians were trained on how to use scalar and soliton energy, and the Great Pyramid generated these fields. Moses, the pharaohs, and the students at Sakura all knew how to use the rods of Ptah. If we had this information today, it would revolutionize technology. It's a shame that archaeologists, physicists, and mechanical engineers cannot see the simple truth of how the pyramids interact with the Earth. Fortunately, Mary Hardy's Orgone pyramid preserves the antenna grid to hold the frequency of the heart to protect the Earth. We need to understand that the Earth is a motor. Pyramids and obelisks are antennas, and the tune rods of Ptah can direct and manipulate electromagnetic fields to generate standing waves, or solitons, to move this energy. This understanding would greatly benefit all living things, humanity, and Mother Earth.
The man who brought Orgone energy to the forefront was Wilhelm Reich. He created cloudbusters, which cleaned up the atmosphere. In fact, he could help it rain and get rid of the droughts out in the west. He could also mimic and heal the planet. This is a few pictures of the different types of equipment that Wilhelm Reich had and made. However, this energy was outlawed. Wilhelm Reich was persecuted and imprisoned for trying to heal the world with Orgone energy. The layering effect to create Orgone energy on our pyramid was a layer of dielectric, electric, dielectric, electric. Kenneth did not teach us about Orgone energy. We just asked for a pyramid to heal my son of dyslexia. He made it into an Orgone box, and unbeknownst to us, it started healing the waters. The Navy came to our house about 4 months after we built our pyramid. They wanted to know about the pyramid and why we built it. They even interviewed my 4th grade son, John, who the pyramid was built for. And he, because he has the consciousness, understood what they wanted to know, and that was how we did this. We could create, in fact, there are many little organized devices, little pyramids built, and if we understood and used this energy, we could heal the planet. This is a picture of the Hardy Pyramid construction. You can see aluminum is electric, the tar paper is dielectric. And that is how we created an Orgone pyramid. Remember, an Orgone pyramid is a wireless antenna system. It broadcasts, and it broadcasts to other pyramids. And there are hundreds and thousands of pyramids all over the world. So we created an Orgone signal that went around the world. And what's coming up is 5G. We could create an Orgone field through the ground to heal the 5G and protect ourselves. And this is a picture taken of an Orgone energy pyramid. As you see, it creates a standing wave. Now that standing wave goes all the way to the ionosphere, to the center of the Earth. And as it tunes in with frequency with other pyramids, it is an antenna system that was created to go all the way around the Earth. Fortunately, our pyramid is built right between the Great Lakes Triangle and the Bermuda Triangle. And what happened when we built our Orgone pyramid is it took the abnormalities and balanced out the disturbances that were created way back in the time of Atlantis when they cracked the earth. So the Bermuda Triangle is where the old North Pole was, and when we built the pyramid in 1975, there have been no more disturbances in the Great Lakes or the Bermuda Triangle because we balanced out those disturbances with our Orgone energy. This is a picture of the world's largest radio station. What they did is they went into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and Wisconsin, ground things down to the base rock so they could signal all the way around the world so they could communicate with submerged submarines. Submerged submarines were created because you have to have the right frequency to bomb. Russia had the atomic bomb, we had the atomic bomb, and scientists figured out that if they bombed America, it might be 10 days before they could bomb Russia. So they kept the warheads submerged so that there would be no bombing. That would prevent the Russians from bombing because they knew that America could bomb from submerged submarine. Now this also balanced all the oceans around the world and created a life force energy that prevented the extremely low frequency from being activated. This is a picture of the CN Tower and the Seattle Space Needle. It's interesting that both of these places, especially the Seattle Space Needle, was developed as an amusement park. And as you see, it is connected to Sawyer Air Force Base so that they could broadcast from the world's largest radio. Earth is a motor. The ancients tapped into that motor by building pyramids. Pyramids are an antenna system into that motor. And of course, when we put up our Orgone pyramid, it activated other Orgone pyramids. Now the control of the Great Pyramid is created by Stonehenge. And what appears around Stonehenge to control Stonehenge is hundreds of crop circles, maybe 100 every year. That is a vortex generator that is put on a ley line. So the first crop circle of the year in 2013, the Temple of Sakura was given the opportunity to change the tip and tilt of the earth to prevent the poles from shifting and from the Illuminati creating a frequency of mind control. On June 2nd, 2013, the first crop circle appeared. It was a compass. Now, I was taught by the elders of the planet that if we balanced out Stonehenge by putting the first crop circle over Stonehenge and putting Great Pyramid over Stonehenge, in 2013, I came to the ASD, gave a presentation. We had about 100 people there, and we actually did change the tip and tilt of the earth. And some of you that were in the audience when I gave the presentation remembered that. The Grays were going to help us. So in the Grays, Tennessee, a crop circle was presented, and on one side of it is a cup, the other side is the tip of a sword. So this was how I was told that we were to use the holy prayer of the Holy Grail, which balances out the sword and the cup. And so that was to be added over Stonehenge when we moved the crop circle and the Great Pyramid. Again, here is a picture. It is a compass. And because it's a compass, they could actually tip and tilt the earth with the Holy Grail vortex. And there is Stonehenge. A year later, myself and Gail and a friend, Annie, and Duncan went to Stonehenge, and it's interesting. And the guy in the yellow jacket is right behind there. He was the head guard at Stonehenge. We had come early in the morning, and we had permission from the Historical Society to enter. And when I entered Stonehenge, he wanted to know why I came back to Stonehenge. They were aware of what we had done, and they were very, very concerned about how we did it. There is a picture of the Great Pyramid. So we moved through the Holy Grail vortex, the Great Pyramid over Stonehenge, and we moved the crop circle over Stonehenge. And then we did the Holy Grail vortex, which balanced the tip and tilt of the earth. Now, on the crop circle in Italy on June 20th, 2013, showed that before they could move the tip and tilt of the earth, they had to balance the auras around the earth and around the solar system. Now, on Wiltshire, which is near Stonehenge, on June 21st, we had the first phase of it. This crop circle shows the different balances or trips around how it was tipping and tilting and creating different orbits. What happened is it needed to be balanced. On the 22nd, we had the second phase of that. And as you see in that crop circle, now all the rings are balanced. There again is a picture of phase 1 and phase 2. And to me, this crop circle shows that we actually did change the tip and tilt of the earth. If you imposed it over that, you would see the compass, and right down through the middle, you see the central sats of the pyramid. That means all the pyramids all around the world were organized so that the tip and tilt of the earth could be balanced. We did the vortex at the ASD on June 6th, and it took a few days to balance out all the frequencies, and by June 22nd, it was done. This is where my friend Sherry had been working with the grandmothers. In 1836, the Potawatomi Indians were moved out of here, and they made a treaty with the Michigan government that nobody could build on their sacred ground. Sherry was living next door to that and working and reactivating for a couple years the grandmothers, the shamans, the ETs, and the elementals. So this ground was prepared to drop the crop circle. We dropped the crop circle on a sacred Indian ground in Allegan, Michigan on June 2nd of 2013. Because we dropped the crop circle there, Homeland Security could see the energy pattern changed. And the police force at Allegan was running around with their guns ready to draw, looking for a piece of equipment that could actually drop an Orgone field in this park in Allegan. Homeland Security has spent lots of money, and they have eventually created a labyrinth, thinking that they could control it. The night of the 22nd of June, we met at Sherry's house, and what we discovered was, because we changed the tip and tilt of the earth, it was allowed that the Illuminati could not have so much control over the collective consciousness of the planet. In other words, we actually tipped and tilted the earth to break their control and to give the Temple of Sakura more power. And right along with the Temple of Sakura, anybody that wishes to develop their minds. So we put a crystal skull out there, and there were entities from the center of the galaxy and from Alcyon. There were 22 different Pleiadian star systems there, arguing over whether we were given permission to do this or not. And apparently we were given 10 years to heal the planet and to change people's consciousness so that they could use the Holy Grail vortex to bring about an Orgone field on the planet to heal it. And that is what the Temple of Sakura is about. Balance of the planetary rings. By July 6th, the planetary rings, the crop circles had a theme all that summer about balancing the planetary grid and balancing that field so the poles wouldn't shift, and so humanity could have the consciousness to move into a higher plane. Again, on July 7th, you see this crop circle. And if you look at an analysis of this crop circle, not done by me, but by the crop circle connector, You see what's there is the compass, and you see what's designed in there, the central shaft of the Great Pyramid. Another one of the scientists that very few people know about is Viktor Schauberger. He also worked with vortex energy. Viktor Schauberger's dream was to ionize tap water, an elixir that balances the spin of the aura so that the body could properly be fed with the balanced energies of life. This elixir sustains your electromagnetic field. It was sought after the alchemists so that they could sustain a better life. Without the spin factor in our water, our energy field cannot be balanced or created. And it is the same with our medicines, like oils, our homeopathics. They spin the electromagnetic field. His first attempt was to create water that would spin as it went down the river or through our pipes, so it would cleanse and restore the spinning factor or the auric field. In this picture right here that you see of Viktor Schauberger, you see the different things he was doing. He was creating vortexes. All energy on the planet, even look at weather patterns, create vortexes. You see where the rivers have to be weavy. Rivers will clean themselves up if they roll like this and create a vortex. So you see up there in the right-hand corner, he had little things put in pipes that would make the water spin. That is the design. Unfortunately, our engineers make rivers and everything straight. Anything that's not spinning is dead, and it is not helping our auric field. Viktor Schauberger was a Jewish man. When Hitler came into power, he went to Schauberger and his men and said, "Your lives will be spared if you create me a flying saucer. I know they exist. I want one." So he and his lab technicians were given a hangar, and they were given the opportunity to stay alive and their families to stay alive as long as they created a flying saucer for Hitler. Viktor Schauberger, as you see here in these pictures, actually created flying saucers. Those flying saucers were very, very influential. They were almost as good as the extraterrestrial flying saucers. They flew all over. What happened to Viktor is NASA asked him to come over here in the late 50s. They wanted to study his work. Unfortunately, what NASA did is they wiped his brain, sent him home, and 4 days later, he was dead. You can become invisible by flying in a flying saucer. If Viktor Schauberger could make them for Hitler, I'm sure NASA could make them for the United States. This is a cartoon showing the mad scientist that Viktor Schauberger was, putting a spin factor in everything. Water, cleaning up the rivers and the oceans. That was Viktor Schauberger. That was how they treated this man of science who knew how to spin water, knew how to spin lakes, knew how to purify things by simply creating the spin factor. Another scientist was Tesla, and Tesla's coils create spin factors, just like our pyramid creates spin factors. Tesla created Niagara Falls with this wireless antenna at alternating current. And where did Tesla get this information from? That is Tesla's patent. But if you look at it, it is an exact copy of the Great Pyramid. Pyramids are wireless antennas. They create a spin factor that goes from the center of the Earth all the way to the ionosphere. And if we built them with the right frequency, we actually could clean up the atmosphere. Or we could spin water with that kind of energy. So where Tesla got his information for building his wireless antenna system, he simply copied the wireless antenna system in the Great Pyramid. And of course, it makes it an Orgone generator because it is rock, sand, rock, sand, rock, sand. That creates the Orgone field. That is why our pyramid became a wireless antenna And our pyramid took the abnormalities out of the Bermuda Triangle and the Great Lakes Triangle. It actually prevented ELF being broadcasted to protect and save the oceans. This is how energy flows. As you see in this picture and our obelisk, you see that we make energy go from one place to another. And this is what the Egyptians knew with their obelisks and their pyramids, and Native Americans with their medicine wheels and their teepees. There's all kinds of vortex generators on this planet that we need to investigate. The important thing is, right now, we are being bombarded with electrical energy. If we created a vortex, tuned it with crystals or however we wanted to tune it, we could balance out that frequency. And if enough of us did this, we could really create a beneficial world that wouldn't electrocute us. This is an obelisk. There are different kinds of obelisks. This is an upshoot obelisk. This obelisk was put in Villanova, and it was right in front of an airport. This created such a disturbance that the military bought up all the wealthy houses around it where Dean and I put it, and by domain, they actually tore the houses down just to get rid of this obelisk because it was creating such a standing wave. An upshoot obelisk has the portals built into them, so it's like a flute. As the energy comes out of the ground, it's tuned by that flute. This is a downshoot obelisk. This downshoot obelisk brings the energy from a downshoot vortex right to the base, shoots the energy out like this, and pulses it. There's many ways we could balance out the Earth energy. This is an obelisk with the moon over it. It's a beautiful picture, and it does create a field from one pyramid to an obelisk. The wheel weight of the Earth. In the time of Atlantis, a vortex over the North Pole collapsed. This is according to what Kenneth says. The engineer that was in charge of running that electrical station at the North Pole decided that he wanted more money, so he threatened the people. He locked himself in the door, and he collapsed the standing wave over the North Pole. You have to realize the Earth was gridded. When he collapsed that energy over the North Pole, it created a crack. As you know, if you don't balance a wheel weight on your car, it's going to wobble, and pretty soon it's going to throw everything off balance. So it took them 52 years after the destruction of Atlantis. And that's what you see here. The pyramid was built, took 52 years. All the rest of the electrical stations around the Earth held the Earth in perfect balance. This is the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid. There's my son when he was 16 years old. This is the son we built the pyramid for. The pyramid was built right in the center of the landmass. Kenneth always taught us they could roll that coil up and down this Grand Gallery in the pyramid. And you can see the cart marks on the side of the tunnel. You can actually see the wall scarred with the electrical discharges. In fact, the Grand Gallery looks like a Tesla coil. It was created by the Ark of the Covenant and could actually put the pyramid back into stable balance. They put that cart there, they rolled it up and down the gallery, and as they rolled it up and down the gallery, they were actually able to stabilize the tip and tilt of the Earth. This is the JED, and you see they actually had tuned to the center of the Earth electrical devices that would actually hold them in place. Wilhelm Reich created cloudbusters because he could draw that vortex energy off. The Egyptians did the same, but you have to realize that orgone energy is outlawed and it can't be studied in the United States. It was outlawed in the 40s. If we had this technology, we could build a pyramid. As you see, Dean, myself, and my son are sitting on top of the Great Pyramid, looking over the second pyramid. It actually took 3 pyramids to stabilize the orbit of the planet when they finally got them built. There is a picture of the three pyramids, three main pyramids. Mycerinus is the first pyramid. It's a smaller pyramid, it's a sound pyramid. Then you have the hollow pyramid, which is behind Mycerinus. And then you have the Great Pyramid. It looks smaller, but it's actually bigger than Khafre. And that pyramid actually was the pyramid that they tipped and tilted the earth with. So there it took those three pyramids to move the planet back into orbit. The power station in the Queen's Chamber. According to my teacher, Kenneth Killick, Tesla studied the Great Pyramid to create a wireless antenna system. If you look at Tesla's coils, they are very similar to what is designed into the Great Pyramid. They would take the Ark of the Covenant down in the Queen's Chamber, and some way the Ark was moved around and could be used to charge the coil that was created to put the planet back into stable orbit. They closed it off, ran the electricity, charged everything up so it could be used as a coil to be taken up and down the Grand Gallery. Dean parted the grid when he was there in 1980, and he looked in there, put his camera in there, and he realized that there were two cooling chambers. You could actually see the charged burn marks on the side of the Queen's Chamber. There is the Earth grid that was created by pyramids, obelisks, and other power stations that created an Orgone field, that created a pillar going from the ionosphere to the center of the Earth. And this net allowed them to stabilize the Earth as they moved it back into a stable orbit. And again, that's how the vortex energy flows from one vortex generator to another vortex generator, and it is tuned by sound. The upshoot obelisk makes a sound, the pyramid makes a sound, and as you tune these two together, you can actually create a vortex that generates a field.
With permission from the elders of the planet, Killick designed a tuned obelisk. A tuned obelisk creates either a positive or negative frequency, much like a tuning fork. Pyramids also act like tuning forks. Weather patterns pulse a positive or negative frequency, depending on their direction of rotation. Killick placed his obelisk in Sedona and tuned it to Mary Hardy's pyramid in Allegan, Michigan. The Sedona obelisk created a positive clockwise upshoot vortex of energy, which formed a line to the Hardy pyramid. The Hardy pyramid acted as a tune tank antenna connected to a vortex circuit with the Sedona obelisk. A tune tank works as a circuit that uses a capacitor and inductor in parallel. It is a resonant circuit which absorbs maximum power at the resonant frequency. This kind of harmonic gives it tremendous power to equalize abnormalities and disturbances on the Earth. The line created by Killick allowed Mary to use her pyramid in the Sedona obelisk to dissolve the Soviet vortex energy line in the summer of 1980.
This is in Newport, near Providence, Rhode Island. I believe this was built by the Templars. They could put the Ark of the Covenant on top of this anywhere on the planet and build themselves a grid. As you see, everything the Templars built is in a vortex. They had that technology to create energy stones like organites to move or balance the grid. Years ago, nobody knows who, this medicine wheel was built by someone, Native American or extraterrestrial. The Native Americans could create little pillars of vortexes around the medicine wheel and create an energy field. We all know that Yellowstone has a very dangerous caldera that's about ready to go up. One morning, Sitting Bull was sitting in my backyard, Ethric, and he said he was here to save the sacred grounds of Yellowstone. And what he did is he actually had ghost dancers dancing around to pull the energy out from under the caldera and send it to a balanced place. And actually the rose windows in the churches are medicine wheels, and they send vortex energy from one church to another church. This is a resonating chamber at Chart, and you can see in the chamber the labyrinth, and of course there's a rose window right there. The energy field that's created by a tachyon field is generated there. The Templars built the cathedrals. They created resonating chambers, and of course in the etheric you had the Templars, but you also had the Marys. And Mary is a term meaning healer. And the Marys were in charge of sending and receiving the energy within the cathedrals. And they could send that resonance out through the grid and tune them so that they could move energy anywhere they wanted. And the secret to that was for them to ring the bell. And as they rang the bell, all of this loving energy that was created in the resonating chambers in the cathedrals would be sent out to heal the planet. They could interconnect all of this energy, and the Knights Templar engineered it so it went to one place, and that is a place near Rennes-le-Chateau, France, called Mount Bucharest. But all the cathedrals, that's what the chambers were really about. Tachyon field is a clacking action. Can I? Let me think. Yes, I can. And they can move energy anywhere just by tuning it. Also, my teacher taught me the prayer, who am I, what am I? As I am not, but as we are, I am. That is the prayer that goes along with the tachyon field. Kenneth sent us a picture showing a wind shear. You see how the vortex knocked off every other train car on that track. Wind shears are nothing but a solitron action, that is a vortex. The orgone energy of the earth field can be engineered to either bring peace and harmony or can build a 5G into the field where it is going to disrupt the whole electrical field of our planet. And us that know about orgone energy can create devices like an orgonite. I have a friend that bought 10 orgonites, threw them in a churchyard, and prayed over them to create a better field of light and love in that energy around the church. As you see here, we have orgone energy being created by the earth as it spins, so that if we do the prayer, the Holy Grail vortex, that prayer will bring in the light so we can actually activate it. And there is my family with our dog, Jake, in front of the pyramid, right after we built it. And that's my husband. John is on my husband's side, and Mark, my older son, is on my side. When I was at Rennes-le-Chateau, 12 Knights Templar came to me because a terrible thing was going to be happening. They were going to try to stop the Earth motor just long enough to gain control of it, and that was called Y2K. And they said computers would have a glitch in them. If they would have stopped the Earth motor, it would have shut down every electrical station on the planet. So the Templars gave me a prayer called the Holy Grail Vortex that was given to the United Nations. They told me to go to the cathedrals all over England, France, and parts of Spain and re-energize the vortexes so that they could not pull off Y2K. So from the year 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, the year 2000, I went to places like Karnak and St. Michael's Mount and re-energized the vortexes. This is a Holy Grail vortex. As you see, it makes 4 rings. From the point of light, counterclockwise. From the point of love, counterclockwise. From the center where the will of God is known, clockwise. From the center, which is called the race of man, clockwise. That creates a pillar of light, tunes into all this grid, so that you can move the energy wherever you want or however you want. You must ask permission first, and you must have a good intent. Remember, everything that you do has an effect on you and the earth. So the first thing you have to do is ask permission. If you're not given permission, then you can't do it. This is a picture of Rennes-le-Chateau, and generates a vortex just by the way it's built. This is a picture of the Magdalene Tower. We have friends, Toby and Gerda, that live there, and I was in their garden when I received this prayer from the Knights Templar. This energy field is tuned to Mount Bucharest, and this kept the energy of Rennes-le-Chateau. It was very sacred. That is a picture of Mount Bucharest. In the movie Close Encounters of a Third Kind, Mount Bucharest is a vortex generator, and it brought in spaceships. This mountain actually has spaceships over it most of the time. According to the Knights Templar, they have engineered all of their churches to this power point to create one vortex, and that's why it's so important. There is a picture of the Millennium Dome. They built this in London's harbor. Does this look like an amusement park, or does it look like a vortex generator? They moved all of the energy from the Great Pyramid up to the Millennium Dome. They tried to move Stonehenge over to the Millennium Dome. They tried to generate it as the control point. They had set this up as an antenna system so they could broadcast to everybody through the grid, and they could make us think we were hearing voices. They could create all kinds of consciousness and control it. If they would have achieved that, they would have ended free will on the planet. The field around Stonehenge is a chalk field, and many, many, many crop circles appear. Crop circles are vortex generators, and these vortex generators allow the planet to be tuned, and that is what's happening here. The Millennium Dome is the eye of London. If you notice, in many big cities you have a Ferris wheel now. The Ferris wheels create solid rods. They can move energy. They are regenerating and following the same thing that the Templars had did with the cathedrals. They are connecting them all up, and someday with their 5G towers, they are going to be able to blast all over. In Atlantis, they built pyramids, generated the energy to heat the homes, but they were not negative like our cell phone towers and our 5G towers, which are designed to control consciousness. Our salvation is understanding what they're doing and creating a field against it by the consciousness of using the oils. I belong to a group called Young Living. The pure oils allow your brain to function, and it is a process of entering the consciousness through the frontal lobes of the brain. And that is what pure oils do. So we have to smell an oil and think of God, and when we're doing the Holy Grail vortex, we want to create a vortex that is pure. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. May light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose that the masters know and serve. From the center which is called the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the doors where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Raise your hands up. And so it is. Everybody into the center for a group hug. The best time to tap into the Holy Grail vortex is the first 45 minutes of the day. Greet the sun and get an assignment for the day. And if you want to heal a person, You ask the elders of the planet for permission, and you listen to what the elders are giving you. I get many assignments this way, and the assignments are important. The Hardy Pyramid. This was taken a couple years after we built the pyramid. Again, it is an antenna system to balance the grid. And we shut down the Bermuda Triangle, which created an energy field of peace and harmony around the world. And we helped activate the Earth's motor so that the large antenna system that they were using to communicate with submerged submarines, extremely low energy, did not destroy the oceans. We had the Navy come out here. They weren't going to criticize. They wanted to know what we did. We have John Hardy's pyramid, which is about 15 miles from here. These two pyramids create a cornerstone. My pyramid is earth, and John's pyramid is fire. The other two corners of the pyramid with organized and tuning at the dam that represents water, and at the airport that represents air. So our pyramid has four sides to it. It is a base, and it is a huge antenna. And this weekend, we are planning on activating the largest ascension chamber on the planet. As we use oils, as we demonstrate love within our hearts, we can bring this field to the planet. This is a diagram of our pyramid. You see the Vesica pieces. Each pyramid generates a vortex. Where they come together creates a line. That line runs right down the Kalamazoo River. Because of our pyramid, in Allegan County, Homeland Security has spent much to try to control what we are doing. But what's interesting is at one end of this line that is created by the Vesica pieces is the Native American spiritual ground at Bear Butte and also at the Devil's Tower. If you go to the other end of the line, you go to the Philadelphia courthouse, and that's where the Constitution of America was signed. This is not an accident. If we tried to build and engineer our pyramids to connect this way, we would have had a hard time. But Peter Champ, who looked at the maps and just drew the lines, and he said, oh my gosh, this is what we've done. The Hardy Pyramid and the Holy Grail Vortex. Breathe into your consciousness and feel the Ascension Pyramid and do the Holy Grail Vortex. Hurricane Florence. I don't like to use the word weather warfare. They have been using weather against us. They say it's because of the warming of the earth. But we have been able to take down huge hurricanes by simply using the pyramids, creating the Holy Grail Vortex. Now the earth is a motor. If we spin things, we can slow that motor down and slow the hurricane down. And we can stop the action of the hurricane. And that is what we did with Hurricane Florence. If it would have gone ashore, it would have influenced 6 nuclear plants. We could have had Fukushima in America. And because when it went down and entered the East Coast, it was only a tropical storm. We could do this with any hurricane, any tornado, and we actually have removed tornadoes right out of the sky. Well, you can take any crop circle, create a Holy Grail vortex, and meditate on it. Listen to the music, the singing bowls, and just go into yourself and visualize all that you have learned from this video. I appreciate you listening to me, and thank you.
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.